So, hi everybody, and thanks for tuning in. I'm so excited to be here with this fantastic group of women to talk about technology, innovation, and being a leader in the industry, in any industry really. So before we get started today, just wanted to say a big happy International Women's Day and Women in Construction Week to everybody out there. So let's celebrate absolutely today and the month and maybe every day, right? So with that, I will start off with asking our group to introduce themselves. So I'll just go around my screen here and we'll start with Sophia. So let our audience know. Um, a little bit about you and what you're working on.
Okay, so I am an engineer and I work at an engineering company. Been with them for 17 years. It's called Simpson, Gumpertz, and Hager. We are a company that was founded by three MIT professors, and we have three main specializations: engineering, mechanics, and infrastructure, structural engineering, and building technology. So, building technology is the division that I am a major part of. And it is been an absolute journey and an absolute pleasure to be a part of it. So I guess I'll pass the torch on to the next.
Yes, thanks, Sophia. Let's go next to Sandra.
Hi there, I'm Sandra with CSC Robotic. We are a Hong Kong-based robotics company that's been around since 2019 and launched globally last year. I handle our American division, and right now I'm sitting at ConExpo with our two robots making their world or US premiere, if you will. So excited to be here.
Yeah, exciting to have you here. Thanks, Sandra. And I know it's tough for a couple of you guys that are at conferences, so tune in. So thank you for making the time. Let's move on next to Carly.
Hi everyone, I'm Carly Soroki, founder of Karma. We are a creative agency that supports startups, government agencies, and other clients like AEC. So, this is a panel about women who shape the future of construction. I like to say that my role is helping women who shape the future of their companies.
Absolutely. Yeah, can't do it without everybody involved. So fantastic to have your perspective here, Carly. And then, of course, last but not least, Anna.
Yeah, so great to be here with you all on Happy International Women's Day. My name is Anna Berger. I'm the founder and CEO of Trade. Trade is a construction payroll, HR, and compliance system for specialty contractors. Very excited to join this conversation today.
Yeah, also participating from a conference, so we're all very, very busy. Okay, so let's start off with, and feel free anybody to just hop in and answer this one. So I want to set the stage, like how did you get into the industry? What sparked your curiosity with, whatever it is that you're doing, right? We're all in different parts of it, right? So where did that interest come from? How did you end up where you are today? And whoever wants to go first, feel free to jump right in.
And Sophia,
I,
go ahead, take it.
okay, all right, thanks, Sandra. So when I was a little girl, we used to drive on this bridge, right, that would connect you from the 15 to the 91, if you're familiar with Southern California.
Mhm.
And so whenever we'd go on the bridge and I was a little girl, it would scare me. I was like absolutely terrified of being on that bridge, of like going off the side of it, how is it standing? How do they even build these things? And I remember just like really thinking about that a lot and then being like, okay, I really want to understand and know how this bridge was constructed and how it was engineered so that I can stay standing. And then when I was in about middle school, I was just telling the girls here the story, but when I was in middle school, I was in pre-algebra class, and the teacher asked me to spit out or recite an equation, the quadratic equation. And I have a problem with memorization. I am an analyzer and a problem solver, but I'm not good at memorizing. That's not how
Mhm.
my brain works. And so I messed up some of the variables and things like that, and left some things out. And he was like, "Oh, you're not really good at math. Like, you should like go into a field where, you don't have to do a lot of math." And I remember thinking like, yeah, who do you think you are? And I just remember thinking, like, I got to prove this guy wrong. And turns out I'm actually good at math because I'm a problem solver. I'm just not good at his type of math, which is memorization. And so that kind of, just this kind of rebellious personality inside me just decided to, I'm not going to listen to this guy, like, whatever. And I went to the University of California, San Diego, and I have my bachelor's and my master's in structural engineering. And it's no easy feat. And then joined SGH. But when I joined SGH, I realized I wanted to understand a little bit more about the construction side of things, and building technology gives you that aspect and that, that field experience. That's how I got to where I am today, and that's how my interest was sparked. Just this
Yeah,
general curiosity of how things are built.
amazing. And yes, you can be good at math if you don't, even if you don't memorize it all. So
Yes,
it's
yeah, for
okay.
sure.
Sandra, you're ready to jump in too.
I'm a very proud fifth generation in construction, but my path wasn't a straightforward one. So I'm the daughter of an IBW guy, but I am of the age where, construction, women didn't do construction. It wasn't even an
Mm,
option. Go to
yeah.
college, get an education, spend $1 million. And I always joke, and then I ended up with dirty boots in construction. So I ended up in the sales side of things. I'm a talker. I got a communications degree because some second grade teacher told me girls don't like math, and it stuck with me. And I'm out of a family that even knew what an engineer was. To go back, I would have loved to have taken that path Sophia did, but I ended up, going in the sales route and joined a company. And the very first thing I sold was a robotic total station at that company, and I'm like, wait, you said the word robot? And I'm a huge robot nerd,
Yeah.
like BattleBots is my jam. And I'm like, wait, let's talk about what robots can do in this game. And fast forward now, I'm with my second drilling robot, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna change this industry and I'm gonna bring women into this game. So
Yeah.
that's really, yeah, why I ended up in this robotics path, and I don't think I'll ever leave it. So
Yeah. Yeah. The passion shines through. So yeah, it's awesome. Carly, Anna, anything you want to add from your own journeys into the industry that you're in and supporting?
Yeah, I'll go. So one of our first largest clients was a construction firm in Seattle. So that opened
Yeah.
the door to AEC. And then in 2021, we were hired by Element Structural Engineers, which is a first generation Vietnamese woman founded company in the Bay Area. So Sophia, you might want to look her up.
I will.
Titles. You're in the audience. Hello. And then in 2022, we were hired by Housing Connector, which is a nonprofit that works to increase access to housing. They're still using our tagline, a tech for good nonprofit. And so for me, construction is a means to an end. Construction means housing, and we desperately need more affordable housing.
Yeah. A lot of good things that are just in the built environment by nature of it being the built environment. And we were talking about this a little bit before, but there's such a big branding problem, marketing problem in the industry where we're really not putting ourselves out there in the best light, and the work that happens a little bit more behind the scenes to position us and organizations in the right spot for the biggest impact for all this good stuff that we're trying to do makes such a big difference, even if it's not like, spotlight front and center. So, yeah, fantastic to have this perspective here too, Curly. And then Anna, yeah,
Yeah, well,
same
I'm
time here.
first of all, like, I'm really glad none of us listened to the advice
Yeah,
we were given throughout our lifetime, right? Like, if I
Yeah.
listened to every person that told me, "Hey, don't bother," trade wouldn't exist today. And that's the fact. For me, trade was inspired by my dad's back office and from a New York construction family, and saw the inefficiencies firsthand with him, and then with so many of my what I call construction uncles, the people that I grew up around. And so this is a personal mission for me. There's a lot of people I care about in this industry that deserve better tools and software. Big tech has predominantly overlooked this industry, which is unbelievable to me since it's, one of the biggest out there. And so for us to be able to deliver proper software to not only construction companies, but to the women running the back office, right? Which is really our predominant buyer. It's a big kind of mission driven project for me for sure.
yeah, yeah, 100%. We're all deep into it. That was really well said, Anna. And I want to take a moment here just for those of us who are tuning in. So, hello to our audience. You can let us know if you have any questions or leave any comments as we're talking in the chat. So, do use that chat box. We'll see it. We'll be able to respond to you. And we'd love to see the interaction. So, give us a wave, a thumbs up, or anything else that you want to share there. So, switching gears a little bit and focusing on the role of women in the industry, how do you see that evolving? And we've already touched a little bit here and there on how we've seen that evolution taking place in our own careers and lives. But what else is maybe can we expect from that evolution?
I guess I'll start.
Yeah, go for
So
it, Sophia.
from a really, really, really simplistic high level, there are a lot more mothers that are leaders.
Hmm.
And that's not something I didn't even see a lot of women team members when I first got started about 15, 17 years ago. And so that climate in and of itself has changed. A lot more women in the industry entering the industry, like way more than before. And then the leaders that we did have were predominantly male. And if they did have children, they had a caretaker, a spouse that stayed home full time with their children. And so now we're seeing more mothers who are maintaining their role in
Hmm.
leadership, really being trailblazers to show that you can have a family and you can still be present in the industry. That's just my high level perspective in terms of the transition that I've seen in women. And then the second piece of that is with the more complex questions and the more complex engineering problems that come up, we rely more on technology to help resolve those, right? Not
Hmm.
just like AI, but like different tools and different ways of doing analysis, right? And what that essentially does is it levels the playing field because you no longer have to have like a million years of experience to be able to resolve this problem. So it invites more people to the problem, more critical thinkers, and you could be anyone. You could be you could be a woman, you could be anyone to have that experience, even if it's your first time looking at it and it's your first year doing it. It definitely levels the playing field.
Yeah. What other perspectives are out there?
I mean, I'll chime in and second that, Sophia, because in my work with women entrepreneurs, we found the same thing. I think I heard a stat once that 95% of male CEOs or C-suite have kids, and only 60% of women C-suite did for that.
Whoa.
Yeah, hopefully that's changed.
Yeah.
But what I observed is that, women are stepping into these leadership roles, not just somewhere in the C-suite, but CEO. So we're moving from participation to leadership, from representation to ownership. A former client, Chrissy Davis, hopefully you're in the audience as well, recently brought everything she learned from working in general contracting to launch her own company, Encourage Builds. So, these women are building companies that reflect their values, and we desperately need that.
Yeah. I mean, in this group alone, I think we have quite a few founders, right? That are here. So that's a testament to the shift, I guess, that's happening.
Yeah, on
Um,
that note, like I think
yeah.
in the last couple of years, I've seen this like insurgence of female construction tech founders, very
Hmm.
specifically. Like I could list off
Hmm.
10 powerhouse women that are building construction solutions
Yeah.
across materials, equipment, payroll, supply chain, hardware. There's a really cool new energy coming. And I think you're going to start to see a trend reflecting in the next coming years as these founders hire their first 10, 20, 30 people. My co-founder and I were both, we're a double female founded team. And every time we go out to make a hire, like very front and center is like, how can we get a woman in this role? Right. Like that is the forefront of our mind. And I think the like micro deposits in that way and thinking that way, if every single person, every single boss, manager is thinking in that way, then we're going to start to see a paradigm shift away from, I think it's 11% of women in this industry. I think we're going
Hmm.
to start to see that number rise in the next coming years.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna keep an eye on that too, 100%. So one of the things that I wanted to touch on as well is just the fact that the industry, typically we see it as like boots in the mud, like Sandra that you're mentioning. You get dirty, you're working with your hands. It's not that cool. It's not sophisticated. It's just, a bunch of dudes out there getting sweaty and smelly, right? That's kind of the perception. And we don't often see or experience like hey, there's actually some really important work that's going on here. We're creating the built environment. We're on a team. We're using all these sophisticated tools. So, in a pretty big sense, construction and AEC and a lot of industry, other related industries too, they kind of suffer from this like branding, marketing, perception problem. Carly, could you maybe touch a little bit more on that, especially with your background in that space?
Yeah, definitely. So branding starts with understanding your audience, right? And when we worked with Element, we quickly learned that the target client for an engineer is anyone? Architects. So that was a game changer. And then in terms of, branding yourself as a construction company, representation matters. So in the green room, Sophia was talking about her face being on a lot of the marketing
Yes.
materials. And I think that's really good, actually. You want to show the people who work there. If women make up a part of your workforce, show that. Don't rely on stock photos. Invest in a real photo shoot, please.
Ooh, yeah. Say
And
that again. Don't rely on stock
don't rely
photos.
on stock photos, invest in a real photo
Yeah.
shoot. And at the same time, I don't want you to say, here we are, and it's not true. Be aspirational, but communicate, authentically, not just who you are, but where you're going. So the vision that you have and what that looks like from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, so often it's just like, well, I guess we got a website up and so
Yeah.
you kind of set it and forget it and then that's it, right? But today we're in a social media age, a digital age. There's presence online and it matters because that's where eyeballs are, especially for new and incoming professionals and they're women, right? To the industry. So yeah, it does matter. Any other thoughts on that?
It just seems so simple to invest in a photo shoot, right? It's like it feels obvious, but it's so meaningful. And I just kind of wanting to like double down on that, like
Mhm.
showcasing who's involved, who's on the team, all of like the diversity of thought. It's just really, really important.
Yeah. The broader inclusion, I guess, take is really, really important. And I think it's maybe a good reminder too. Like I tend to touch on this when the topic comes up is like, yeah, the reason why diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives came up in the first place was because literally companies just made more money the more inclusive they were because you had better perspective, more diverse perspective, a better chance of solving a problem or optimizing something. Um, so it just helps your bottom line. So the returns that you put in to maybe a simple photo shoot, it just comes right back, or it should come right back if you're having that, little boost in inclusivity there. So yeah. Yeah, research behind that on like how that makes money. So it has a reason. Um, let's see. Any other thoughts? And feel free to just chime in. If not, I'll hop to our next topic. So, all right. So, the next topic here, and it's been everywhere. So, of course, we're going to touch on it, is artificial intelligence, AI, our good friend AI. So, with AI, there's a ton to talk about and unpack here. It's a tool that interestingly enough, we've actually been using for quite some time, but maybe it was more subtle. Nowadays, like we see it, there's a lot of chatbots, LLMs that we're using every day, and it's really obvious that this is kind of bringing a big change to every industry. The other context to artificial intelligence, though, and there is some research out there, and happy to drop this into the comments after this session if anybody out there is interested, but there is some research that there is an AI adoption gender gap as well. So, what the phenomenon in essence is that women tend to be a little bit more risk averse, don't necessarily want to trust an AI solution, and they're missing out potentially on some of the efficiency gains and the benefits that other counterparts are getting. So, what's the group's thoughts on this? I'm sure there's
I am
some
chomping
perspective.
at the bit. Yes.
Yes, go
So
Sophia,
let me tell you
yes.
why. Okay. I never
Yeah.
really thought about this until this question was posed. To me,
Hmm.
AI was something that's like a buzzword and like everyone's trying to say, here's a new tool for us. We all need to use it to become more efficient, to become
Hmm.
smarter, faster, to optimize our work product, right? And so in my mind, it was a matter of how can I implement this into my work? What am I going to do? Oh my God, I don't have the time to even think about this, but let me play around with it a little bit. And then I just kind of like generically stay away from it. And then so I didn't realize I didn't use it. Okay, if that makes sense. It was not
Mhm.
intentional. I didn't realize it. On the contrast, I have a friend who he is in IT and he is in this industry and he is kind of leading the chart. He is leading the charge of really understanding and implementing AI across different types of companies, not just in the construction industry. And so I reached out to him yesterday and I asked him, I was like, did you know that there was a gender gap? And he said, yeah. And I was like, what do you like? What do you mean? Why do you think? And so these are not my words. Okay. So this
Mm.
is going to be controversial what I say. And he said,
Okay.
women just think they're smarter than AI.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
And he said, women think they're smarter, they think they're better. And I was like, because this person's very, very, very blunt, doesn't sugarcoat anything. So I
Very
was like, I'm
interesting.
pretty sure I'll
Yeah.
get like murdered if I say this out loud. But I thought we should say this
Okay.
out loud, right? And then I was like, that's not true. Thinking about myself, I'm like, I don't use it because I know I can do it just as better, and I know that if I try to do it, like if I input a question in AI, I don't like the response it gives me, so I fix it. And he goes, you think you're smarter than AI? And I was like, oh my God, you blow my mind. And so it's just a matter of a
That's
bias maybe that like I
yeah.
had that I didn't realize that I had. And then I said, well, how can I get rid of that bias and start using AI more? And he said, you need to think about working smarter, not harder. And so when you think about working smarter, not harder, you need to figure out how to use AI to help that process. And I was like, I'm going to
Yeah.
try to use it every single day now. Like you just like literally like this innate perspective that
Interesting.
I didn't realize I had in the back of my head just came out to the forefront.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it came from just like, okay, if there's a gender gap, let me ask someone from the other gender and see what they think. And so
Huh. I
that's
love
how
that
this,
you
yeah.
introduced the other perspective there. I think so too. Like with women in general, a lot of times we tend to be perfectionists, right?
Yeah,
And
100%.
AI is not perfect. And disclaimer, a big warning, like make sure you double check anything that you're doing with AI. It can hallucinate, do wrong things. So double check it, use it responsibly, blah, 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 all that good stuff. But yeah, like a lot of times we tend to be overly perfectionistic and like we kind of discard things that might be able to help us, even if it's not 100%, right? What other thoughts are out there on this
So
as well?
So
Yeah.
when you mentioned this to me, Erin, I was shocked. I thought it was actually going to be the other way because I was an early adopter of AI. Like I had my first, I think I joined ChatGPT like when it was like still real, real basic. I've been, using the heck out of AI. I've got, automated stuffs going on. So I assumed I was the norm of it, and I didn't even
Mm,
think of a women gap. But the thing that came to mind for me was the biases that AI has. So there was a recent friend had posted about asking AI to generate an image of her as a contact. She's a startup out there, and it produced a man. And I was like, oh, well,
yeah.
wait, there's no way my AI is going to produce a man. It knows I'm a woman. I talked to it about being a woman in contact and whatnot. It knows what I do. And I went and after she posted on LinkedIn, I went and did it, and it produced me as a man. And I was like, are you kidding me? And so it shocked
Yeah.
me, but I wonder if some of the lack of adaptation by women is because the models are hard cooked to have a bias, and
Hmm.
I know, I mean, especially in this industry, apparently contact means man according to AI. So I think there has to be some reckoning or something in the models to make it less bias, and that would probably maybe change that gap, but or maybe
Yes.
the gap exists because, or I'm sorry, the bias partially exists because of the gap. So it's a maybe cart or chicken and
Yeah.
egg type thing.
It's all related and goes back to Carly's point of like invest in the photo shoot. Like we need more stock images of like people who are actually doing this work so that whatever's being trained on the data knows, oh yeah, this whole population is also included in this data set. Um, gosh. Yeah, it's interesting how it seems to like all come back to each other. So um anyway, yeah, additional thoughts on that, Carly or Anna?
Yeah, so AI systems are built by a fairly narrow demographic. So it's not
Hmm.
surprising that they reflect those biases. But Aaron, in the article that you sent us before the panel, it said
Mm,
that if women don't use and participate in AI could miss out on input from women.
yeah.
So this is a self-perpetuating problem. So I've heard colleagues talk similar to Sandra about how they asked AI to do something, rewrite a LinkedIn post, and it made it more masculine. It actually made it more conversion language, power language. And then I've seen rebuttals that say, well, masculine language is winning language. It's more confident, quantitative, strategic, things like that. And so I'm trying
Mm.
to learn from what AI is doing from a business side. And I use an alter ego, and his name is Carl. So
Wow, yeah.
I write as Carl, who's better than me at everything, apparently, and smarter. Sophia, as you were saying, is clearly they're smarter than us. Haha. But it allows me to be aware of any like overly gratuitous language. Oh, I'm so honored. I kind of hate that, honestly. Or apologetic language. Instead, focus on the facts. What do we deliver? Why is it valuable?
That's
I
really
love that.
powerful.
It
Yeah.
really is. It really is. A trick of mine for anybody listening is there are some amazing like sales and negotiating books out there, but one of the best is Never Split the Difference.
Mm,
And I
I'm
love
writing that
prompt and
down.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what I love to do is like prompt engineer, right? With my GPT. And so like essentially I'll basically say let's negotiate this in the style of Never Split the Difference. So like as
yeah.
Erin said earlier, like AI can hallucinate, right? And so it's really important to ground it in like concepts that it already understands, right? And so that's just something I've applied and been very successful with in even in the last 6 months. Yeah, but stepping back, I think just a word that has come up from each of you in the last on this topic is the word risk and risky. And I find that really infuriating that women are seen as risk averse, or when it comes to venture capital, women are seen as riskier.
Mm.
It's something where I'm like, we are so methodical and thoughtful, and
Yeah.
we need multiple points of data to make an assessment, but we are always like grounded. And I think it's going back to like what's a better approach. Like I'd choose our approach any day. And I think people will start to see that as, instead of it being risky or like a bet, that like this is the way forward, right? It's a more well-rounded approach to decision making. I think that's why we're starting to see a really big upswing in like in female leadership and CEOs. Um, Sometimes just screaming and barking orders isn't going to move the needle, right? And all
No.
boats won't rise. So there's a lot to take away from these models, and also, there's a lot to leave. So it's important to train them and work them to supercharge us. But our instinct, I think, being
Yeah.
thoughtful is still the right one.
Absolutely. And as you're saying that, Anna, we did get a question from Allison. What was that? Never split the difference. Is that right? Never split the
Yeah,
difference.
Never Split the Difference is the name of the book. It is actually it's an atypical sale business book in that the author is a master negotiator, like worked for the FBI, worked for the
Mm.
CIA, and it's basically him recounting like hostage negotiations and that he went through in his career and different negotiation tactics that he deployed in those moments. By the way, 0% sponsoring this content.
Yeah.
I this is a book that I live by. I lead, outside of being the CEO, like I lead sales for trade. And so I'm constantly in my negotiation mindset. And I think having certain collateral and people that just are tried and true experts,
Yeah.
it's really important to ground yourself in that day to day.
Yeah, it's been a while since I read that one, but it was impactful at the time, so it might be worth a refresher, probably, it sounds
And
like.
it's not just in sales. It's like negotiating a salary,
Everything.
negotiating a job title, negotiating a mortgage, or like whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
It stretches beyond professional.
Yes. And Kate is commenting for us in the chat here. Chris Voss is the author, also has a great masterclass. Thank you for that. And I do see a couple more people hopping in. So do you know you can use that chat or comment box to let us know any thoughts or questions. And we will be getting somewhat close to the end here, so keep your questions ready to go. So one thing that I want to make sure that we touch on today is advice to early career professionals. So this could be, what did you wish you knew when you had started out? What's worked well for you throughout your careers, which it sounds like for us, it's ignoring advice and just going for it, right? Um, so what advice to early career professionals coming into this industry or any industry, right, do you wish that, you or that you want to share with them? Sorry, I'm losing my words today.
Jump in on it. So for me, what has made it possible for me to take the space of in contact that I have is having that support system around me, finding those other women and gassing each other up, building each other up. Be that person who's, the cheerleader for the other people and find your cheerleaders. Because, during this contact thing, at some point I have one of my very good partners with me here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here and there, and she's, they're cheering me on, and I'm like, I wouldn't be here without you, and that a good friend Nicole, and these people who've cheered me on throughout these years. Yeah, it's profound having that support, and then when things go wrong, you have that. You don't get scared out. So, and
Mm,
join the organizations. That's part of where you find them too. The NAWICs of the world and all those orgs. So.
absolutely. All right.
I want to bounce off of that a little bit. So, my little pearls of wisdom that I'm going to share are not things that I wish I had heard. It is things that I did hear and that have really provided a lot of value for me and helped me maintain my career and I don't want to say success, but my joy in the industry that I'm in. And the first one is mentorship. Find a mentor, find 5 mentors, find 10 mentors. The more you have, the luckier you are.
Mm,
And respect them, listen to them. They've been through it already. And if you just hear them out and what they have to say and listen to their guidance and support them in the way that they're supporting you, not only will you have their experience on top of you, but you'll have a friend for life as well. So that's something that has really helped me across the years. And then I'll tell you the very first piece of advice that I got, which again, I'm a very controversial person, so it might be deemed controversial. But the very first piece of advice that I got from a mentor that I consider as a dad to this day in the industry. And he told me, and he was a general contractor for a long time, then he switched over to the engineering world. So he comes with this unique perspective of like being on job sites, but also the engineering aspect of it. And he said, Sophia, you are who you are. People will see you as a woman and they will be like, she's a woman. And so he's like, don't try to be someone you're not. Take advantage of the perspective that they have of you and use it to your advantage. And so I said, okay, so how do they perceive me? This is like, I'm talking you guys early 2000s. Okay.
yeah,
So
I'm like, this
uh,
is amazing.
this is back in the day. Okay. So back in like 2008, when I first started working, I had no clue what a hammer looked like, what a drill looked like. I had no clue what a wall element looked like. And I was like supposed to be the engineer that was inspecting the work. So I go out there and I'm like, okay, they're looking at me like I'm this young girl on their job site. So I was like, let me take advantage of that. So I'd go up to them, I say, what are you guys doing? And they'd be like, oh, come here, let me tell you everything. They would tell me everything, right? So they were like, I'm doing this, I'm building it like that, I'm building it like that. And I'm like, but the drawings say you're supposed to do it like this. And that's how I did my job. And so that's how I learned. That's how I made friends in the construction
Surprise.
industry. And then, well, not necessarily, but like, what's going on? Why does the drawing show it like this? And I'd be like, oh, you're right. Or they would say, oh, the drawing has been updated, right? And then that's how I facilitated in a non-aggressive way the discussion where immediately we're not like butting heads, but we're kind of, I bring them onto my team. And so I've immediately put myself next to them as opposed to on top or in front of them. So that was one piece of advice that worked for me. And it's funny because I tried to give that same advice to a young engineer a couple years ago, and he comes back from the job site. He's like, Sophia, contractor yelled at me. I was like, why? And he was like, because I was like, oh, tell me what you're doing here. What are you installing here? And they're like, well, you're the engineer. Shouldn't you be telling me what I should be installing? And so it's just, it goes to being your skill set and how people perceive you. Obviously, I'm a female, he's a man. So, anyways, I
Hmm.
just thought that was really funny. And, the advice won't work for everyone, but the point is look at how people perceive you and use that to your advantage, not as a disadvantage.
Yeah, the you are you is so powerful. It's
Yeah.
such a really good reminder. Thanks for sharing that. That was a great story
Yeah.
to illustrate that.
I'll
Um,
offer another maybe hot take, which, I think there's a lot of negative kind of opinion around jumping jobs and moving around. But I'm actually a huge proponent of wearing as many hats as you possibly can in your early like career years. Go like, go in-house, support a client, go to an agency, right? Like go all over to different facets of the industry and to find your people and to find what gets you the most excited. I was spent 6 years in corporate America before I got my startup itch. I never in a million years thought I was going to be a
yeah.
startup founder. And now I'm working on my second company, right? And so like I would never have gotten there. I would never have known that had I not like tried on a million hats, like said yes to things after work and on the weekends. And like you have to just keep yourself open. And something that came up earlier, it's like if you feel some level of conviction inside of you, right? Like people saying like don't do math, don't do this degree, don't do that, da, 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 and you feel some sort of like compulsion to do it, you're meant to do it. Right. You're meant to follow that. Right. So it's like if you feel pulled towards one way or another, don't ignore those signs, explore it. It may be wrong, right? But I think now looking back, I think for a while I was like, my career makes no sense. I've been here, I've been here, I've been here. And now looking back, I'm like almost like Slumdog Millionaire, where it's like every part of my like every part of my like day-to-day life now, I'm better because of something that has
That's
happened in
right.
the last 10, 15 years of my career. And in the moment you don't see that, and then hindsight is 2020. And I think that that's
Yeah.
super powerful. So as like someone who hires a lot, I'm not scared of seeing someone doing a lot of different things in a short amount of time.
Don't ignore, explore. Beautiful. Yeah. Carly, anything to add from your perspective?
Yeah, sure. Well, me being an entrepreneur, I thought of the entrepreneur
Yeah.
curious out there. So if I
Yeah,
had advice
absolutely.
for you, I would say learn from established models in terms of how to build a business. So, in most ways, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Yes, identify your unique selling point, but otherwise, be kind of boring. Like, design your operations to be steady, safe, predictable. And then once that's in place, experiment within the bubble. I mean, I love Startup
Mhm.
World. I admire what Anna's doing so much. And what I'm bad at is just the day-to-day of the boring financial operations, tech stack, human resource. There's so many jobs aside from the fun, exciting stuff of running a company, but it's not going to matter unless you have the lifeblood and the cash flow and the pipeline steady.
Mhm.
So study business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Consistency is underrated, I think. It's really hard to do something consistently over and over and over and over and over and over again and never tire of it and continue to deliver, and meet expectations. Like consistency is huge. I've had my own struggles with that too, right? As a founder of a, construction tech consulting company. So,
I
Anna?
think you tapped on something, right? Which is like when I
Yeah.
look at the most successful people I know, the number one trait is consistency. You're
Hmm.
not going to win
Hmm.
every day, but if you just keep pushing every single day, the work does compound.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be like, the best of the best, the top 1%. But if you keep pushing and you go
Hmm.
1% further every single day, you will beat out the other people around you that do just stop. At a certain point, people
Yeah.
stop. And if you keep going, if you maintain the pace, you will be the last one standing. And it's just true. And so that's probably the trait I see the most in the most successful people I know.
Yeah, and no overnight successes, right? Like we're all putting in the time, putting in the work. I do
Yeah,
see a couple. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Anna.
just
Go ahead.
really, really
Yeah.
quickly on that. It's like people only recently are, starting to pick up on trade's momentum and trade's success. And, for
Mhm.
some people who are just starting to pay attention, they're like, wow, this blew up overnight. And it's like, no, no, no. I had a failed
Not
startup
quite.
for a few years, right? I was building that. Like I was grinding and building and grinding and building. It's almost
Yeah.
10 years that I've been on this journey, right? And it's all part of this. So you can't look at anything in a vacuum, right? Like your growth doesn't happen in one position or one job. It happens across your career. And the moment it chooses to compound, yeah, that comes to consistency.
Yes, so well said. Thanks for sharing that, Anna, and Carly as well. A couple comments here. So Meredith is saying zigzag careers are underrated. Yes, a thumbs up. And then Allison is saying like this is where your AI team members come in with the consistency piece, as well as the vast majority of startups fail. I'm the three-time founder. I only wish I started earlier. Yeah. So I think a lot of us get to that point where it's like, huh, I'm kind of wondering, should I do this thing? Should I not? And you don't want to be left with the wondering or the regret later on, right? Just do it. Just take that chance, take that leap. So this is the perfect time now to grab any questions that any of our audience has. So feel free to drop those into the chat or the comment on the platform that you're on. And then we did have a couple pre-submitted ones. So the first question here, do you find it harder to be an authentic leader based on your personality versus others' expectations in construction? So it's the authenticity piece. And I think Carly, maybe it's speaking to the Carl alter ego versus Carly. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to go first, so
go for it. Yeah,
obviously
take
one
take it
advantage
away.
I have is that I'm auxiliary to AEC, so I'm an honorable mention in today's panel, but I come with my own expertise and personality, and so I see my role as bringing interdisciplinary thinking to AEC. So big disruptive ideas into the space. Design thinking is design thinking. The same principles apply whether you're building a building, company, a brand. And then just personally, my life philosophy, karma, we draw from Buddhism, Stoicism. It's about letting other people have their expectations. They're gonna. And then I just
Hmm.
focus on my process, my team, and staying focused on our goals.
Okay. Yeah, it's so powerful. The same themes like they're gonna, right? They're gonna have their whatever they perceive. That goes right back to what Sophia was saying, like, yeah, they're gonna see you as this, right? So use that to your advantage.
For
I think
me,
yeah, go.
I'm a bit loud and brash. I'm a girl from the South Side of Chicago, and I'm raised by a bunch of tradesmen. I swear a lot. I am who I am, and I in the corporate world, I'm the type of person who I had, senior leaders come in and say something that I very much disagreed with, and I tend not to care what your title is. I'm going to talk like I'm going to be who I am. And it doesn't always work to my advantage. I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, everyone will tell me, Sandra, your passion is what made me believe in it. Your willingness to stand on, stand in there and believe, say what you
Hmm.
believe and mean it really matters. So, I've offended people. People, oh, you should be more, me. That's not who I am. I am who I am. And it has gotten me where I am. So, at times I've been told to be less, and it's like, I'm not going to be less. Go, if you want less, or I forgot the whole phrase, but like go find someone else if you want less, because I am who I am. And, I think
Right.
as more women move into this game, we get to be more of who we are. So,
Yes, yes. Absolutely.
I will say, oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Erin. I'll just
No,
like
no.
kind of,
Yeah,
I
go.
feel like this is, so Sandra and I have very similar personalities. I have not met someone with more passion or enthusiasm than me yet, but I think I did today. Um, and so I would say it's really hard to make myself smaller. And I've realized that I don't need to. As long as I'm clearly communicative
Mhm.
and collaborative, I feel like those qualities shine, and that's my personality. That's who I am. I'm someone who likes to bring people together, and I like to resolve issues and problems. And obviously, I like pink. And when I first started in the industry, I would wear high heels every single day. I love fashion. I love makeup. Like there was like a joke like saying that like, oh, you always know whose water bottle is Sophia's because it's the one with lipstick on it on site, right? And I never changed that because I felt like it just added color to who I am, and it really the the engineering stands and speaks for itself. And so I never allowed anyone to make me quieter or smaller.
And what I like too is that as human beings, we're naturally attracted to authenticity and
Yeah.
genuine things. And we have this sense, like, right, uncanny valley, especially with AI stuff, like, something's a little off. This doesn't seem real. This doesn't seem authentic. So I think as we learn to unmask in the workplace, like it's becoming, I don't know exactly how to say it, but like, a more connected and real experience. Hopefully, that's like, the optimistic take on it. All right, so we have one question here from Allison. Where can we see the bios of the panelists? I've been trying to find them. Maybe can't find everybody on LinkedIn. So we will ask, I will have our group share at the very end here where to find them. And then that's where you can get more information. We also did go over intros at the very beginning. So the recording will be on the same page as well. So one last question here, and if anybody has questions as well that they want to put into the comments, we can see them afterwards. So feel free to do that. The last question here. So from your viewpoint, is the vanishing wisdom, and this is maybe a nod to the labor shortage being experienced in the industry, is this an opportunity or a bigger challenge for women in the industry?
It's a
Yeah,
huge opportunity.
it's huge
Okay.
opportunity. I couldn't agree
Yeah.
more. Worth saying it at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this goes back to what I was saying about the level playing field, right? Because
Yeah.
all of a sudden you have the older generation that's retiring, or that, I remember there was this huge shift after like COVID and like 2020,
Mhm.
2021, where all of a sudden like the contractors had this like gap in terms of like foremen that were like missing, who like really knew how to like build the stuff, and it allowed everyone to kind of step up and fill those roles. And so I feel like that's where the opportunity comes in. It is challenging, but I think that it just presents a lot more opportunity to level the gender gap in our industry. So,
Yeah.
A way
Yeah.
to do it differently too. So, I mean, the number of times I'm like Sophia. I mean, yeah, we've just made besties. So, I'm the type of person who's like, hey, tell me what you're doing. And you'll ask them like, well, why do you do it that way? Well, because it's the way we do it. But why?
right,
Well, it's because
right,
it's the way we do it. And I think, I mean, my dad's retired out. He was part of that loss of generation. And when like I have my robot that does part of his workflow, and he's like, but that's not how we do it. Like, well, why? Because when you started, they had a little crank drill, I mean,
Mhm.
and I think it's a huge opportunity for the women entering the field now to not do it, because we did it that way. No, rethink it, reinvent it in a way, and we'll get better because of it. Because the technology is changing everything, and especially construction at a pace that it's never has before. And I think this
Yeah.
is great to kind of shed well, because we did it this way, and find a
Yeah.
better way. So
Totally. So on that note, I'm gonna wrap us up here. We're pretty much towards the end of our time. I do want to go around just very quickly. Um, where can anybody who's tuning in find you or connect with you, and like where do you prefer to do that? So, Sophia.
yes, I'm on LinkedIn. Should be able to find me if you search my name. I work for SGH. You see the little logo. It's like right there. That's my company that I work for. If you ever see us at an engineering conference, you'll see me doing this because there's a picture of me in there. That's the photo. But yes, so you can definitely reach me via my email. So Erin, is there like a post that's going to be associated with this that we can give our contact information, or is there a way that for people to reach out to us,
You can
or
put
can we
it
put it in the chat?
on the event page and it'll be
Okay.
there afterwards.
Okay.
Definitely. And then one more question I'll tack on that's just coming in. What's your number one problem that you see in the industry? And I'll have each of you answer this. So thanks,
Oh my
Allison.
God. Number one problem in the sense of what? Like,
It just give a couple words, anything that immediately sprang to mind.
For me, it's probably slow adoption.
Mm.
Okay.
That like
Yeah.
going back to our last topic, like people don't think that they need to consider new technology and new solutions. But what they don't recognize is the people that will beat them. It's kind of like
Mm,
adapt or die. And with AI, with certain new software coming out, like those that don't will be left behind. And so whether they like it or not, it's an ugly truth. But as someone who's
gotcha.
selling into the back office, which is the most antiquated piece
Yeah.
of construction, every single day I hear, no, we're not ready for that. We don't need that. It's like you do need it. And if you don't do it, you're gonna see a material impact to the business.
Yeah. Anna, where can our audience find you and reach you?
Yeah. Um, Feel free to just search Anna Berger, probably throw in trade, TRAYD in LinkedIn. You'll be able to find me there, or buildtrade.com.
Awesome. And
Thanks.
then let's see. Sophia, do you have a number one problem?
Okay, so I'm going to take us into the construction site. All right. So the number one problem and so just to orient for those who joined after the introduction. So I'm a building technology engineer, so I deal with engineering of the facade, the skin of the building to protect the bones from like water infiltration and air leakage and things like that. Or like actually like things falling off the building that aren't supposed to, non-structural elements, right? So that's kind of my background. And so the number one I wouldn't say problem, but I would say challenge that I've seen repetitively from job to job
Hmm.
is that there is a gap between what the general contractor will say and then what the subcontractors, foremen, and superintendents will say, and then what actually gets implemented in the field.
So
And
close.
that's
Yeah.
what, yes. So that's one problem that I've seen, and it's something that's notorious, and it speaks to that vanishing wisdom and people just kind of finding their way and trying to figure this out, trying to figure out and stepping into roles they've never been into before and trying to figure out how to
Yeah.
learn from previous mistakes. And
Yes.
then the other thing is that there is a lot of testing and a lot of technologies that are available to perform non-destructive testing and evaluation, and that maybe we're not taking advantage of those. And let's take
Mm,
advantage of those at the conclusion of construction so that if we do have a problem, we can figure it out like while it's still in our control before we pass it to the owners. So,
yeah. Going back to the adoption piece. Yeah.
yes, yeah.
All right. So next, let's go to Carly and then Sandra. So Carly, where can people find you? And then what do you think is number one problem?
Sure. So you can find Karma on X, YouTube, and LinkedIn, or at karmadesign.is, like the word is. And probably the biggest opportunity I see with any kind of business is really just clarity that leads to confidence. So
Mm,
that we worked the most with one of our clients on is coaching her not to say, we're a small and mighty team, but no, you're scaling alongside your clients and you're going to win that 7-story multi-unit building. And so having a
yes.
really, really clear goal, and I would tell my team, we're here not to build a website, but to help this person win a 7-story multi-unit building.
Yes. Yes. The
It just
purpose.
makes it
Yeah.
more targeted in your focus.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for that. And then Sandra.
Yeah, so if you search me on LinkedIn, I'm one and only thanks to my long last name. And that's the easiest way probably to find me. Also, my company, CSC Robotic, we're on LinkedIn or cscrobot.com. If you happen to be in ConExpo, I'm in the North Hall. Come see robots in action. But for me, I think Anna touched on a lot of it is, the adoption, it is it takes a moment, but getting those people the mindset to be adopters. And in my time in the, like 10 years I've been doing contact in the in the dirt, I am seeing movement there. So I'm very, very hopeful, especially after this week at ConExpo. But yeah, the adoption and the stubbornness, we've always done it that way. All right, well, is that really the best way? Uh,
Yeah. That
yeah, it's
mindset shift.
oh, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then for me, obviously I'm on LinkedIn, and I think the number one problem, quite frankly, is learning and development. It kind of ties into, I think, Sophia, what you were touching on too, where we have a lot of new incoming team members. We're losing a lot of the historic knowledge, and it's literally coming down to people just not knowing what button to click or why or what they're doing. And we're not capturing the knowledge and passing it down really well. So that is one of the things that I'm passionate about is that learning, that training piece. So I do want to thank you so, so much, all of you, for your time, your contributions, as well as our audience for participating and tuning in. We will have more discussions on this. I wish we had, a ton of time, but obviously we're all super busy doing amazing things. And then just another happy International Women's Day, Women in Construction Week, and hope everybody celebrates a little bit some of the wins that we have going on along the way. So thank you all again. And with that, we'll wrap up for today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, broadcast is ended. Thank you all so much.
So
Yeah.
fun.
Darren?
So for us, less technologically savvy, where do I go to find the event post on LinkedIn?
I know it's there. Sophia, I think I tried to tag you as a speaker, but we weren't connected yet.
We should be connected now. It's because I
Okay.
never go into it. So I
I
accepted
know,
you.
yeah. It's
And
okay.
then, okay, so like
I
Aaron.
will grab the event page. Yeah, if you make a comment on there, it'll just be there, so you'll see that.
Oh my God, I see us. Okay.
Okay, you found it.
I
Okay,
love it.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, look, you guys, we have 13 comments.
Woohoo.
And we had like 20 people it looked like watching at any given time, plus or minus. Like,
Yeah, it will go up. I am a little surprised. Was expecting it to be a bit higher. Maybe the time of day doesn't work so well. Maybe Friday mornings or
Yeah.
afternoons are rough, but um and there's a lot of conferences going on. But either way, usually it bumps up a bit afterwards because people tune in when they can. So yeah, this was awesome. Thank you all again. You'll get a copy of the recording. You can do, whatever you want with that, and then it's up on the page and it'll be on YouTube and such. So
that's
Thank
Thank you.
you
just
so
Thank
much
you.
for having,
yeah.
like for me, like it's like I'm not really like a tech person, you know what I mean? But I'm like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
people that I don't know, I'm like boots on the ground essentially, right? Because like I'm the one
It's
getting
really
anything.
it's really thought leadership, right? And
Right,
that
right, right.
inspiration piece. So
Well,
I
thank
think,
you for having me. I appreciate it.
yeah, yeah, no,
lots of fun. I'm gonna go play with some robots now and talk to.
yes.
Sandra, I'm finding you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I
Everyone,
am.
Anna, absolute pleasure. I am so impressed by the
Likewise.
fact that you did your own startup. Like that's
No, 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 no,
absolutely
no.
Likewise.
Oh,
impressive, fantastic.
oh, I'm not the startup. I'm just the
No, I
American
said
part.
Anna. I said
Oh,
Anna.
Anna.
Anna, and then Sandra is my robotics lady. I love it. And then
Oh,
Carly, you seem so sweet and like, oh my gosh, I really need to be more business centric. So it's an absolute pleasure meeting you as well. So, Erin, thank you for connecting all of us
Yeah,
together.
so
thanks so
good.
much.
All
Thank
right.
you. Have a
Take care,
great one,
everybody.
guys.
All
Have a
right.
good
Bye,
one.
everyone.